Mothers and Others. Today, we are meeting U.S. House candidate for District 12, Trey Hunt. You may not know, but District 12 covers an area west of Fort Worth. His opponent is Representative Granger. His priorities include criminal justice reform, public transportation, and accessible and affordable health care. So welcome, Trey. Can you tell us in a few minutes, just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, yes, ma'am. So I'm born and raised in CD12. I did spend a few years in a small rural town outside of Waco called Elmont. I don't know if you guys ever driven through it. It's very small. We have, our claim to fame is a Dairy Queen and a grocery store. So Dairy Queen left, actually, so we just have the grocery store now, but all good. I've went to Texas Wesleyan, which is in the east side of Fort Worth, and got my bachelor's in psychology. And I met my wonderful spouse there, Celeste, who went on to get her master's in business at Wesleyan. And now she's working at Charles Schwab investment brokerage. So I call her my sugar mama because she's taking care of me right now. So I'm currently in the social work field. I went on to get my master's in criminal justice. I'm pursuing a master's in social work right now. The end goal is to hopefully get a PhD because I would love to go back to my undergrad university and be able to share what I've learned with everybody. I'm currently working as a case manager for the people experiencing homelessness in Tarrant County. I do assist people in Parker County as well, so it's also part of CD12. And decided to run because I had my son in 2020, and I did not like the way the 2020 election went. We actually lost some House seats, so found that to be quite alarming, and I'm hoping this midterm we can gain at least one back, but hopefully all.
That sounds great. Welcome, Trey. We're so glad that you are here. So can you tell us a little bit about how your experience has prepared you for this role?
Yes, ma'am. So I think there's a pretty simple divide, or maybe I'm oversimplifying the divide, but I think that there's two different mindsets. Either you believe that the government, and more specifically the federal government, can be a force for good, or you think the federal government is a force of evil that's making the country much worse. I am in the first part of that category. I believe that the federal government can do wonderful things. It helped provide housing for my mother and I. My mother was a teenage single mother. It helped pay for housing, paid for food for us for a while until my mom was able to get stable on her feet. It helped me get through college. I got my house, which I was able to purchase through the assistance with the federal government. There's a lot of good programs that we can use to really improve. And whenever I hear that, make America great again, I think that's really a subjective term because, who was it great for? But, when you do get somebody that says, oh, it was in the 50s or, it was, in the 30s, as we were seeing more and more federal programs that were, investing into communities and giving people opportunities, the GI Bill, for example. So that's my reason. I think this is an entity that with the right leadership can make the world a better place.
Yep, absolutely. 100%. Now, you have been working with people in poverty now through your nonprofit, Another Hand, and as an outreach specialist for the homeless. What have you learned in your time working with those in poor communities, and what changes do you think needs to be made in Texas?
I think I do my best to fill in a gap in services. I believe the company I'm employed with, it's a nonprofit, but it's quasi-governmental. We work very closely with governmental agencies. I think there's just a very large gap in services. Even here in Fort Worth, which is the 13th largest city in the United States, in Tarrant County, which is a very urban and rural area as well. But, we have such a high population, yet there just seems to be like a lack of services, and services that are available are not easily accessible. And that's my primary goal is when I'm interacting with people is to help them learn about what resources there are. But I think there's more that we could still expand and grow.
Absolutely. So District 12 in the past has voted for Republicans, for decades. And the last Democrat to serve in Congress in your district was Pete Guerin, and he did so in 1997. So do you believe that your district is ready to vote Democrat now?
I believe so, because Pete and Pryor, it was pretty much nothing but Democrats. I think there was a couple of Republicans that snuck in there. I know that was a different kind of Democrat back in the day, but I think that Kay Granger initially had a lot of popularity when she went into the office. I'll be completely honest and open, and I'll say that she was an extraordinary politician for her time. She was very progressive. She was a pro-choice Republican. There's footage of her admitting that, but she's definitely moved further and further right. And I think she's lost touch with, what the district was and what the district has definitely become now. I believe I'm a more accurate representation of that. So I think it's long overdue to be blue.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about Kay Granger. So she's your opponent, and she has been representing the Texas Congressional District 12 since 1997. Granger is a solid Trump backer. She votes in line with Donald Trump 95.7% of the time, and it is projected by 538 to continue to vote in line with Trump and his ideology a total of 92% of the time. So how do the constituents there in Tarrant County, how do they feel about this, and what change do you feel needs to be made?
So I'll answer the first part by saying that I think Granger has definitely sold herself down the river by choosing to line up with him, because when it comes to the far right, they are divided. I think it's something that we need to definitely capitalize on, because, although she votes 95% of the time with Trump, there's people that still call her a rhino. That's been a big contention for her every time she runs or in her primaries. So I think that's something we really need to emphasize, as well as we need to ask people, do you really want to go back to the Trump America? Do you want that representative to help lead to that? It's always found it just absolutely hilarious that Trump had an ad where he was saying, oh, this is Biden's America, and had a bunch of rioting and everything like that. And that footage was during Trump's presidency. So it's just this guy was creating problems when he was in office. So if he gets back into office and Granger's able to vote for more of his policies, we're going to see more of the disturbances.
That's an excellent point. And then I kind of have this random question for you. So somebody talked to me this week, and they were saying that, especially in North Texas, that a lot of the Republicans are now stripping away the fact of Dobbs in certain positions from their platform because they don't want people to know that they were supporting the Dobbs decision. They're trying to pretend like they didn't support the Dobbs position. So are you noticing that as well, as them cowering back from Trump and Dobbs and some of the decisions that have recently been made because they feel like it's going to hurt them at the polls this November?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's something they know, that it's very unpopular. I think it's kind of like Brexit, where nobody really wanted it, or a minority of people wanted something, but just through flukes, it just kept on happening and happening. So I think something similar, where it's just 72, I believe it's not, but the number's correct. It's in the 70s. 70% of Texans want some form of abortion. So this total ban that they're going for, I don't know who that's for. I guess that other 30%.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's true. So some of the initiatives that Kay Granger has implemented, how have they affected your district, and how do you plan to address these initiatives once you take office?
So I think, besides the popularity from when she was mayor, I think she's done a great job at making people think she creates jobs here through military contracts. I'm happy for him. My stepfather, he was a Marine. When he came back, he started working for Lockheed Martin, I believe, or his Bell helicopter. And Kay Granger has given this illusion that it's because of her we get all these great federal grant money so we can build planes. And it's just these are multi-million-dollar planes that often are not used in action, and we end up selling them for a lower cost or just decommissioning them. So I think the most important thing, and this is why I really try emphasizing public transportation, is just we need to re-envision what our military contractors are doing. I think it's great we have these jobs, but we need to see a product being produced that is felt more immediate in our community. So I suggest we go with green technology and increasing our public transportation vehicles.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about public transportation. So what is tell me a little bit more about your position on public transportation, because one of the most frustrating things for me is that I discovered during COVID, I read a book and I discovered that there used to be sort of public transportation trains throughout Texas. So there was a train that went between like Amarillo and Midland and Odessa every single day, a couple times a day. So if you wanted to travel to one of those towns, this, you would just hop on the train and go to one of those towns. It was fantastic. I learned this from a Georgia O'Keeffe book, believe it or not. But so I just thought that was really interesting. And I just wanted to just ask you, like, so what is your vision for public transportation, for a future in public transportation for Texas? What does that look like?
Yes, ma'am. Real quick, let me just add that Fort Worth used to have a really robust trolley system. And my grandmother, who was born in, I think, 1948, still has memories of saying like, oh, we would just walk down to the corner, hop on the trolley, and we'd be able to get to downtown. And I think it's impossible for me to take a bus to my son's daycare and then from the daycare to my job. Like there's just not enough connecting routes. So definitely think we need to just, I see a more robust public transportation system that, I think we could focus on the more central parts of the district for right now, and outside district as well. So I was focusing on Fort Worth and then connecting to the growing areas that we have, such as Benbrook, Saginaw, Weatherford would be wonderful if we can just have it where somebody can get on a train in Weatherford, take it to downtown Fort Worth, hop on a bus, and make it to Saginaw all within 45 minutes. I think that is completely doable. But it takes investing in these systems.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was even thinking like a bullet train, just still like in Austin, we're like, why isn't there a bullet train that goes, to Dallas and to San Antonio and all the way down to Brownsville? I mean, there should be multiple bullet trains all over Texas. It's kind of ridiculous that they just don't have a vision for that. It's super frustrating. So
yeah, absolutely. I have a cousin that's out in Amarillo. I'd love to go see him, but my son's too. I'm not going to do that long car ride by myself. So
yeah,
I'd rather hop on the same.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you there. Absolutely. So, so recently, let's talk a little bit about women's right to choose and the recent Supreme Court hearing to overturn Roe versus Wade. I wanted to ask you, what is your position on Roe versus Wade and women's rights? What is your position?
I'm pro Roe 100%. I think this is a pretty simple matter of just trust women to make the right decisions, trust with decisions they make between them and their doctor. I think the right has grossly, and I'm not even going to say grossly, they have just lied. There's no 9-month abortion. There was none of that happening. It's ridiculous. My mom was 15 when she, became pregnant with me, and she made a choice to carry me. But, as much as she loves me and I love her, and now I gave her a grandchild as a result, she loves that grandchild and spoils and rotten. That was her choice to, keep me. And I appreciate her for it. But if you talk to her about it, she will say those first few years were some of the hardest, if not the hardest in her life. Just insecurity with housing, with food. My grandparents were extremely supportive, but when you're at that age where you're ready to move out, but you can't move out because you have to think about who's going to help take care of your son, definitely enables you. So I think that's an extremely hard decision. I can't speak from what I would do in that situation. So I just have to have faith that, women will continue to make the right choices when they're put in those situations.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. So last February, every Texan found out just how critical our energy crisis really is. People lost their lives due to a lot of the policies that were implemented underneath the Republicans. So what would you do as senator to fix our energy crisis? U.S.
Congressman. Senator is a little too far down the road.
Okay. Yeah, Congressman. Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I would support connecting us to the rest of the country. I think that would be a good start. Why are we isolated from the grid is just a terrible decision. I think, as we saw, also focusing on green energy. So while it is true, the second leading cause for the power being cut was windmills, getting too cold and stopping. It was a far second from first place, which was gas. So we need to definitely invest more in green energy. We got tons of desert out west, so we could put some solar panels up. We got the coast where we can put some wind turbines. Like, we need to use the natural resources we have here, renewable resources that we have here, I should say. So that would be my main focus, is just really advocating for those kind of legislation. Also bringing some more jobs here too.
Yeah, that would be nice for sure. So Texas needs so many change all across Texas, but let's talk about gerrymandering and voter suppression and how they have affected your district.
Mm-hmm. I need to find it. I had some images, but there was a neighborhood, and in the neighborhood, they like zigzagged around blocks to get certain people from it. And it's just like, if you can zoom in that close and you can see it, like they got a razor blade and they were cutting out. It's just like, that should be a clear red sign. Sorry, a clear red flag that there was something wrong here. And for many people that are libertarians, there's not a libertarian candidate on the ballot. And I know some of my policies may go against their traditional views. I would also say that if you guys would like a better opportunity at, getting a candidate in yourself, we need to, get rid of gerrymandering altogether. So, and I think that we should let the people decide who they want. I don't think the people in power should decide if they're going to keep their power or not, because I think the answer is going to be yes almost every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had a conversation with some friends the other day about people in power and how they don't want to lose their power. I mean, we're talking about Dianne Feinstein in particular, because she's getting up there, and it's like, okay, when are you going to retire? I don't know. We need to make room for some of the younger folks. But anyway, so yeah, that would be a nice thing. So another minority group that's been impacted by the current Texas legislatures is our LGBTQIA community. Mm-hmm. We've seen the parents throughout Texas fighting for the rights for their children. And what would you do as a congressman to assist the LGBTQIA Texans?
I would be a very vocal advocate. I think that's something that's very important, just to make sure that we have representatives, especially from a red state, proudly saying that these are my neighbors, these are my family members, and I do not want them to be treated differently. I've also suggested that we should maybe bring up what qualifies as a hate crime and try to get that, implemented into law, because I know there's been direct targets against transgender people. We were supposed to have where this medication for people that already have HIV or trying to avoid HIV, they could take it and would decrease their chances of contracting. And the court in Texas said, no, employers don't have to cover that. And it's just like, that could potentially save somebody's life. And it's a drug that specifically helps men that like to have sex with other men. So I think that's a clear sign that you're targeting a minority group.
Yeah, I don't understand it as well, especially if we don't. I don't know. I get frustrated with the health stuff, because it's like we either pay for it up front or we pay for it 3 times fold in the back. They
exactly
don't get it. They don't get it. It costs us more by reacting later than it does by being proactive. So it's just messed up. I don't understand it at all.
Yes, ma'am. Same thought process with abortion. It's just like, you don't want to provide the real human infrastructure for these women to have children, but force them to have the children. It's just like, the state's not going to have to take care of these children, and they don't even have proper resources. So we're just going to get ourselves deeper and deeper into a hole. So.
Yeah, I understand. So let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about education, because education has been just a big mess in Texas over the last few years. And many of our teachers are leaving the profession, and we are definitely seeing districts all across Texas banning books, limiting access to books, also limiting access to all kinds of learning about history, to the history that they're able to learn, as well as even in the education, in the schools, really starting to pick on the LGBTQ community as well. It just seems like every single time you turn around, there's a different aspect of education that's being attacked. So can you tell us a little bit about your plans to support and fix the Texas education system?
I think there's a few different things. Let me just first say that my aunt has been a teacher for more than 30 years here in North Texas and in my district, as a matter of fact, in the north side. My cousin followed her footsteps, and she's become a teacher now in Mansfield. And they have both said that it's been ridiculous the last couple of years. Like they just really ramped up, making them the target for attack. So I think it's important that it gets into a tricky area because technically I'm running for federal office, so I don't have as much sway as I would like to help them. However, there's more things I can do to advocate for them. A great thing that Lisa Welch, who ran for this seat last cycle, and I both agree on is that we could help with bringing housing opportunities to teachers. So maybe we can't give them direct income increases, but at least we could take care of that burden for them. And maybe that could encourage people to stay in the profession a little bit longer, as well as, although we should get rid of all student debt, I definitely think they should be prioritized first. We are not going to get rid of all of it.
Absolutely. So, so also here at Mothers Against Greg Abbott, we're really tired of the gun violence across all of Texas, but especially that in our schools. So I wanted to ask you, what is your position on gun safety? And what is your position with gun safety in regards to schools as well?
Zero tolerance, beyond zero tolerance for guns. I have a son in daycare, and after the Uvalde shooting, I was scared to take him. It's a very intimate, small daycare, but I mean that the person that committed that heinous act was not from that school. He decided to target that school, so anybody's susceptible. That being said, I see no reason for anybody to own an assault rifle. It's a weapon for war. That's what it's designed for. If they want to have special places where they can go rent one and shoot one, that's maybe something we can discuss. I'm not a fan of assault rifles. I'd like to see them. I'd like to think 21 should be the minimum age. And I don't even know if 21's, I think 25. I mean, my car insurance didn't go down until I turned 25. So why can't I go buy a gun at 18? They have them at Walmart. That's ridiculous. I could go for milk. I could come home with a shotgun. Something's not right. The system needs to be reviewed. I know it's not a popular stance to take in Texas, but if I'm going to run, I'm going to use my platform to make sure I can at least move the needle in the opposite direction of where it currently is.
Yeah, great. Yes, I agree. Tell us a little bit about your ideas for justice reform here in Texas, criminal justice reform.
Yes, ma'am. So I love Tiffany Burke. She's running for a DA, and currently MHMR, my employer, we have a mental health facility. It's called the Jail Diversion Center. It's specifically for people with homelessness. I've worked there myself, and I got to see it firsthand. It's pretty amazing. The problem with it right now is that it's only for people experiencing homelessness that commit a very certain kind of crime, just one type of crime, one type of crime. And instead of going to jail and getting mixed in the jail systems and everything like that, not getting the help they need, if anything, the taxpayer is going to foot the bill for a few nights or a month or whatever it may be, they can go here. We can connect it with mental health services, maybe medication. There's a counselor available. We talk about housing. There's those resources I was talking about earlier that people don't know about. They're right there and they can help. And Tiffany has a great idea about expanding that. And we're going to need, if we want to do that, we're going to need some federal funding, right? So that's my view. It's like, let's be more proactive. Let's not wait. Let's not have the taxpayer front the bill some other way. So I'd rather see them in there for a week and get help versus 30, 60, 90 days in the county jail.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. We touched a little bit about this earlier. So could you tell us about your positions on just like healthcare and mental health care and what you think you might be able to do as a congressman in that area?
Universal health care. I'm going to vote and work in every single possible way to make that happen. I act like I'm young or act like I'm old, but when I was younger, I was really into jiu-jitsu and I was teaching classes. I was doing competitions. I was winning competitions. I don't have to brag too much. I ended up overdoing it at one point and I got rhabdomyolysis. So my body started shutting down on me. And I remember screaming in pain, like, I need to go to the hospital, And somebody's like, we'll call an ambulance. And even through the pain, I was like, I can't afford that. I can't. Yeah, I had to have my aunt take me to the hospital. And it's like, there shouldn't be a fear of the healthcare system. So yeah, I'd like to see universal healthcare.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that. Okay, so you're a little bit younger, and your generation definitely is a lot more has a lot more on the line when it comes to climate change. So what are your positions on climate change, and just if whatever you could tell us about what your positions are would be great.
Yes, ma'am. I'm very pro public transportation because it gets cars off the road. I support green technology. As I mentioned earlier, I love wind turbines. I think they're super neat. Solar panels are pretty cool too. Electric cars are amazing. So I think there's a lot of stuff like that. I think we also need to have a realization that much like a military industrial complex, there's a lot of jobs tied to oil and gas. And that's fine for now. We need to transition away from it. We need to recognize this is a problem. We need to transition away. And we can say to developing nations, like, while we're transitioning away from it, this is a resource that we can offer to you as we're also leaving. And then hopefully we can encourage our foreign allies to go green as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be nice, right? For sure. So currently in Texas, we haven't raised the minimum wage in Texas in a really long time, whereas other states have, which is really shocking. And then add on top of this, there is a wage gap in Texas, a lot of times between men and women, or people of color, and those that are white and Caucasian here in Texas. So what could you do if you were elected to help make pay equality a reality in Texas?
Federally, we got to raise it to 15. Getting rid of Granger is a vote to move it up to 15. So if that's your motivation, if nothing else, I'll make you a little bit richer in your pocket. It's something I've advocated for a very long time. I make more than $15 an hour. I still think that 15 is probably not enough, but it's at least the minimum we can get to for now and go from there. I'll tell another personal story, though, is that who ended up becoming my best friend. We both started virtually at the same time at a company. I was making $22 an hour at the time, and I think she started out making, I want to say, 16. So I definitely got to hear and see the wage gap in effect.
Yeah, that's pretty shocking. Wow. That's a big difference.
That's a big difference. Yeah.
That's a big difference. And it's so upsetting, especially for women because they work just as hard. So it's very upsetting. So
she was in med school before she came to work where we were working. It's like, I'm smart. I don't think I'm that smart.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that, but yeah, I understand that, women work really hard and they go to college and they get degrees and they deserve equal pay. So that is true. That's all very important. So besides the topics that we just talked about, what else do you believe is critical to change in Texas to improve the quality of life for all Texans?
I think we need to start moving towards a zero tolerance policy with disinformation. And I think mainly that starts with social media. I think that's one of the rare bipartisan things that people agree on, is that something needs to happen with social media. And I think disinformation is key. It's ridiculous how lies can spread, especially during coronavirus. I mean, there were some things that started going to play, and I understand it's a very complex system and I don't work in that field, but I definitely know that if they can profit from misinformation, then maybe they're not the people that should be regulating themselves. So I think that's something we need to crack down on. I think that if we had a lot more, things where we could bring up Kay Granger's voting record, maybe we could talk about how she's become a millionaire since she's taken office. We could talk about a few different congressional representatives that have become millionaires since taking office. We could try to track down that. We could prioritize more about what's structurally wrong with our political system and our nation, and less about what gets more clicks and views. So I think that would help benefit Texas in the short term. Also, real quick, before I forget, I'm going to go grab this. So.
Oh my goodness. Awesome. That is so fantastic. Look at you. I love it. I love it. Yes, I know. That is so great. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with me. I hope both you and your wife wear them proudly for the t-shirt.
Yes, absolutely. Here, do you need me to pose? You guys need a screen grab? Do you guys want to?
Well, here, let me do a screen grab. Hold on a second. I'll do a screen grab. Yes, Hold on. Let me just break out my camera. All right, let's see. All right, hold it up. I love that. Thank you so much. I love it.
Yes, ma'am.
You all are the sweetest thing. So we're gonna wrap it up, but you can maybe give us some anything else that you'd like to tell us, and then tell us where we can find you and how best we can support you with your campaign, and share with us all your socials and all the things.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I need you guys to follow me on social media. I have a ton of trolls on there, and I personally can't argue with them because that's unprofessional. But, if my supporters do, I'll definitely leave you a like and leave your comment up. So help out where I can. Please, if you live in the Tarrant County area, TCHC, Tarrant County Homeless Coalition, we're always looking for volunteers. We're going to have the appointed time count coming up in a few months. And that's going to help us, figure out how many people are experiencing homelessness in Tarrant County. And that'll help us, get more grant funding so we can get better resources to the people we serve. So we greatly appreciate that. You can find me at huntforcongress.org. Go ahead and make sure it's .org. There's another gentleman in Houston area with the same name who's also running for Congress on a different side of the ticket. So don't want to give him any support that it's going to go to waste. So really appreciate it. You can follow me on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I don't really know how to use any of them. I'm not that tech savvy. I'll probably admit to that. So if anybody would like to volunteer, please reach out. And that includes volunteering with my social media.
I'm so glad that you came on today to meet with me, and so we can ask you some questions. And I look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail, and hopefully I'll be up in the Dallas area soon and I'll get to meet you in person. So thank you so much, and thank you for spending time with Mothers Against Greg Abbott. We really appreciate you. And to everybody watching us right now, just whatever you can do to go and support Trey, that would be great. Donate or just volunteer some time and some hours to help him on the ground. And that would be wonderful. I know that, Trey, you're going to be on our list of Democrats to elect in your area in Texas this fall. So thank you so much. We're so proud of you, and just keep on campaigning with heart like you're doing now. So it really does mean a lot.
Really appreciate you, and you and your whole team.